So our last presenter, Dr. Pranab J Patar. So he is the global, let me first talk about the title is the Collaborative Approach to Sustainability, a hands-on take on SDG 17, Partnerships for the Goals by Dr. Pranab. He's the CEO of Global Foundation for Advancement of Environmental and Human Wellness. Okay, so he's award-winning environmental and sustainable professional with 20 years of experience, having worked with leading national and international organizations such as the Energy and Resource Institute, Earthwatch Institute, GIZ, Water Aid, Wildlife Trust of India, then Center for Environmental Education. Academically, he holds a master's degree in environmental science and a PhD in management, biodiversity, and tourism issues. Recipient of about a dozen of prestigious awards, including Social and Business Enterprise Responsible Award, Sabera 2021, Green Future Leadership Award 2021, Changemaker of Assam Award 2020, Rex Karamveer Global Fellowship 2022, nominated for his environmental and humanitarian activities. Dr. Pranab has led and contributed to over 50 environmental projects at the national and regional level. He is currently the Chief Executive of Delhi-based environmental and social impact organization, Global Foundation for Advancement of Environmental and Human Values. Wonderful, it's quite an elaborate introduction. So let me give you the floor and now you can showcase yourself as much as you can. Welcome, Dr. Pranab.
Thank you, Nilamji. I really appreciate those kind words. And hello, everyone. I'm sure you have had a long but fruitful day so far. I could attend the last two, and a very interesting perspective about the space technology. From now, from space, I will now bring you down to the ground again. I'm going to share a different perspective about, because, SDG has been the talk of the town. And now, of course, we've just concluded the COP, the Conference of Parties in Egypt, deliberating issues of climate change and the challenges that we have ahead of us. On that note, I want to bring the perspective to the last goal of our SDG in the 2030. So I'm going to use a short, it's not a short presentation, but don't worry, I'm not going to use all my slides in the interest of time. I know it has been a long series of presentations today. Before I start, I'd like to give you a quick introduction about the organization that I represent. It's a fairly new social and environmental impact organization based in New Delhi in India. Our approach is very simple, and it was founded on triple bottom line philosophy, which is people, planet, and profit, which is perhaps the foundation of our sustainable development goals as well. So we work on climate action to water security, food and nutrition. So these are the three important areas of our work. I'm not going to going into the details of our work. I would rather come straight to the focus of my presentation today. But I would like to thank the organizers for having me here for the second consecutive time. This is my second Global Sustainable Development Summit with GCPIT. Thanks to Santoshji and his team. And yeah, so for a change, I thought, everybody, for a long time, there has been a lot of focused intervention, discussions, presentations around the rest of 16 SDGs. But today I thought, let's talk about the last SDG, which is the partnership for goals. So when in 2015, when the world gathered around and to discuss, what will happen now, because now that we have already completed the Millennium Development Goals and we wanted to focus further on other issues, especially around the changing environmental challenges globally. So 16 very, very specific goals have been defined and set for the world to achieve together as one, starting from poverty, hunger, all the way to economic empowerment, climate action, so on and so forth. But one thing that was not discussed in the initial discussions about the goal 17. In fact, so goal 17 came into the fore, what I could gather from my sources in the key deliberations who were present in the initial discussions around the sustainable development goals. This was not added. People have not thought about having another goal, because they already felt 16 goal is quite exhaustive and it's going to be a long road ahead. But then Secretary General of United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, he felt, if we are to achieve all these complicated goals, long drawn process by 2030, we'll have to come together as one. We'll have to have a lot of partnerships together, cross-cutting across stakeholders from between countries, between institutions, between individuals. And that's how this was finally, all the signatory countries agreed that there should be a goal that will actually put our focus together, bring our efforts together for achieving these important goals. So today, I'm going to share a few experience from the ground, because we all understand the challenge of environment is especially climate change, although it's a global challenge, but its impact on ground is completely localized. Every part of the world, every city of the world, every village of the world is facing climate change in its own way, in their perspective. So if we are to look at these challenges from a local perspective, of course, we will also have to devise this our solutions locally from a more localized focus. And to be able to do that, I feel we need collaborative efforts at the ground level as well. And we all understand and we realize, and this is something, the slide that I'm sharing, we all know that the SDGs, all the SDGs are interconnected. They are not just interconnected, but they are also interdependent for their individual performances. Because if you look at, like, for example, poverty and hunger, they are completely interlinked. At the same time, if you look at SDG number 6, which is about water resources, or SDG 13, which is about the climate action. So if we are not doing enough of climate action or mitigation and adaptive actions to protect our water resources, obviously we will have more dry spells, or our groundwater resources will go dry, eventually leaving our agriculture yield impacted, and that will further lead to poverty and hunger. So these are this is just one example, but if we look at each one of them, they are intricately related to each other and dependent to each other. This one slide that highlights how something that I've already mentioned, that if our ways of consumption and production is not sustainable, so obviously we'll add to more climate change. And at the same time, if we are putting in enough of efforts towards mitigating the impact of climate change, so obviously we might be able to address the global warming issues or water stress, and that will further help the life and our ecosystem, both on land and underwater. So this is pretty much simple. So now, what can we do about it? So that's how the SDG 17, which is Partnership for Goals, becomes even more relevant, even more important in this context. Because unless we come together, unless we realize each other's problems as well as the strengths, we will not be able to, achieve all the goals that has been set in front of us. And it is already, we are about to complete 2022, and we have only 8 more years to go before we can actually achieve these goals. So now coming to SDG 17, the 5 targets are very, very clearly defined. And if you have to follow the deliberations in the Conference of Parties, they recently concluded in Egypt, there has been a big challenge around financing. There has been a lot of debates and for countries to come together in one page was a big challenge that especially the developing and underdeveloping countries want the developing countries to commit more resources towards mitigation and adaptation measures. So the first target itself of SDG 17 is critically important. The financing assists developing countries in attaining long-term debt sustainability through coordinated policies aimed at fostering debt financing, debt relief, and debt restructuring. So the first target of SDG 17 is very, very important. So obviously there are other areas of technological collaboration, technology transfer, capacity development, trade, systematic issues. Now coming to capacity development, this has been a challenge not at the national level, not just in the international level, but also at the local level in a big way. Countries like India, due to lack of awareness and capacity development, people have not been able to adapt to the eco-friendly alternatives that is available and that can further help them deal with changing climate issues or build their resilience at the local level. And that is what I wanted to focus through my presentation today at the kind of work that we are doing locally in India. But before I do that, I want to also highlight, how the COVID-19 in particularly have shown us the importance of partnership once again, and in a very different perspective altogether. When the world was hit 2 years ago by COVID-19 pandemic, we didn't know, we were completely at loss. We had no idea, we had no clue, how to deal with it, how to overcome these challenges. We didn't even have vaccines that time, but countries came together. I want to cite a few small examples which can lead to our little contribution towards achieving SDGs, or towards highlighting the importance of goal 17 at the local level. It's like, for example, this initiative that was put together by a group of volunteers in the place that I live. It's called Noida. It's part of Delhi National Capital Region. Of a bunch of volunteers came together. They felt, if we can provide cooked rotis is Indian bread, to people who got stranded because of the lockdown imposed to contain the viral contagion. That can probably help a lot of people and help them, save them from hunger. And this initiative, when it was started on the day one, somehow managed to put together about 400 pieces of Indian bread that collected from individual households. We collected 4 breads a house. But then that effort got a momentum immediately. People could connect with this cause and this appeal. And in the span of 58 days, and that is a 58 consecutive days, we were able to collect and mobilize and distribute about 1.8 million breads, Indian breads, to over 300,000 people who got stranded during the lockdown. So this is a very, very simple, but it showed the power of coming together. It showed how individuals, without having to spend a lot of resources, they could address issues like hunger. Similarly, when the parts of India was hit by floods, we again got together, volunteers got together to set up a medicine bank by collect by using donated medicines from households. Many a times people have leftover medicines which are usable, good medicines, and not expired, and medically they can be consumable. Uh, so these medicines were collected by a group of volunteers and then further distributed among flood affected people with the help of medical professionals. Then I want to highlight this another good the towering example of collaborative effort in India. It's called COVID Action Collab. This is India's largest consortium of non-profit organizations that they came together to fight COVID at a different level. This was going in sync with the efforts put together by the government agencies, and about 300 non-profit organizations, civil society organizations from India, they got together under this forum called COVID Action Collab and reached out to touch millions of lives positively by offering direct support, rations, livelihood support. So this is the power of collaborative approach. And one thing that I've learned being in the non-profit sector, especially being a leader of an organization which is fairly new in this domain, and when we had to deal with COVID as an organization, where we had to deal with look at our own survival, things were very, very difficult. We didn't know whether we'll be able to pull through, but we've managed to pull through. Not only managed to pull through, but we're standing strong today, and with the learnings, positive learnings from COVID-19. One thing that I have realized, and which I would like to highlight here, is many times when we say partnership doesn't necessarily mean financial partnerships. Partnerships can be of various forms. Collaborations can come in various uh, formats and there could be a lot of takeaways in the non-financial partnerships model that we have been able to successfully test and try during COVID-19. At a lot of organizations that we see, all the logos that you see, we have managed to put together one after another COVID relief exercise with them, but none of them had any financial transactions during this time. And despite not dealing with money as such, we were able to provide life and livelihood support to people who needed the most at that time. Similarly, as an environment sustainability organization, we continue to put our efforts together for securing our water resources. There also, we constantly work in collaboration with the wide-ranging stakeholders, from government agencies to academic institutions to local grassroots organizations. And as a result, we are able to demonstrate positive results in sustaining our water resources, even after they are mechanically restored and brought them to life from the brink. These are some pictures, examples of how we managed to. So see, this is a news clipping from how people got together to save their water resources after we have restored them and brought them to life. And they are still sustaining. So that's why I wanted to say sustaining the sustainability, which is very important. And that's where I feel everything else that can go on, but unless we come together as one, and we realize our strengths, different strengths, and influence the communities, social institutions through our individual actions, both at a societal level, institutional level, will not be able to achieve the SDGs, which is the most important targets that we have in front of us today. So that's what I wanted to share in my quick presentation today. Thank you once again for your questions, Jerry. And over to Nilamji.
Thank you, Dr. Pranab. Sustaining sustainability. I think if you really want to use that slogan, you will have to live in emergency mode all the time, because people do have power. You know, I've worked in so many emergency countries, and I know people can do wonders. Communities can think and do things that they would never do in their normal life. So if you really want that kind of sustainability, we have to be aware 24/7. We have to keep thinking the way you are thinking and narrating these small case studies that happened in COVID. So COVID taught us a lot of lessons, you know, that we need to think differently. We cannot just keep running to earn money and keep polluting our environment. And when sustainable development goals were we were working on it. I mean, we all worked on sustainable development goals, and we were all laughing and saying, well, this can never be achieved. Nobody cares. But actually it happened. You see, if we didn't have any goal, like you're saying now, only 7 years left. So if we didn't have any goals, and then we would have just gone haywire. I mean, we don't have a goal. We don't know where to move. Now, after so many years, after so much of talking, handful of people who are conscious make sure that other people join them. And then when half the time is lost, then people suddenly get up and say, oh my God, only 7 years left, only 8 years left. But at least we are trying to reflect. So it is so important. It is so important that each one of us, especially this particular platform, the COVID made sure that online platforms became very strong. Most of the people, we spent 20 years in traveling all over the world. Nobody thought, oh, if we do it online, we could save a lot of money, we could save a lot of time. But then COVID had to come to teach us those lessons. Because we wanted to be, that's a behavior issue. We didn't want to change the way we were living. But COVID forced us to change our behavior. Similarly, I'm saying, if we become conscious of the conscious planet, how we want our planet to be, then we need to work 24/7 in emergency mode, day and night, helping each other, supporting each other, bringing all the values and, talking about human wellness, empathy, supporting each other. Then only these 17 goals would be realized. Otherwise, we are going to fall short somewhere or the other. So people have to think about peace. People have to be mentally stable. People have to think how much we can fight, how much we should fight, how much we should burn. Because on one side, we are talking about purifying things. On the other side, we are polluting by bringing all those emanations and everything. So everybody needs to think. Everybody has to contribute. So when you talk about partnership, yes, partnerships can be in many different ways. We can contribute in many different ways. Somebody talked about space. Somebody is talking about home cities. We have to start kitchen gardens and other things on our terraces. We know that. How you're going to make friendly cities. So everything is there. Technology is there. It's only the mindset has to change now.